Everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are at the tiny A-frame that I built here in the suburbs of the Twin Cities of Minnesota. This was my first build ever, and I just love this place. So this tour is going to kind of show you a little bit of the build process. I didn't shoot a video for this one, but I'm gonna just kind of take you step by step through what I did very briefly. And then we'll walk around and I will show you all the little things that went into this cabin. So the build process, I moved to Minnesota with my wife in November of last year. So it's coming up on its first birthday, and I'd never built anything before in my life. So for this first build process, I knew I needed some plans. So I found the transforming A-frame cabin plans that were designed by Diedricksen. He's kind of a pioneer of the tiny house, tiny cabin movement. He's done a lot of great designs, and I saw his tiny A-frame and I thought that is perfect. My cabin does not have the transforming wall that you see in his build, and the reason for that is I wanted to have a wood stove. This property is the property I grew up on. I love these woods, and I knew this is where the cabin had to be built. And so the first thing I did was I popped up the frame and got the floor on, made sure it was level and all that. And for someone who was brand new to building, that was a tough process. I started with the A-frame, got those up, finally it was starting to take shape, and then from there I framed out the windows, framed out the door, and then added the siding. You know, I was brand new. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't use any house wrap. I didn't do sheathing of any kind. I just put up pressure treated lumber on the outside. I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if pressure treated lumber can withstand the elements, well, why can't I use that as siding? So I put it up, I sealed the cracks, and then I laid those, what are they? I guess they're 1x2 strips across the cracks, kind of as a batten, you know, board and batten kind of style. So far, so good. It holds up really well. It doesn't leak. And honestly, I think the design is super cool. It looks really nice with those strips across. I had to put on the roof. We got the roof on, and essentially that was it for the build. I built this thing in 7 days of work. From there, it was all about the interior. So let's dive into the cabin. First things first, I'll give you the dimensions. It's 8 feet long, I believe 10 feet wide. Honestly, that's a lot of space. If you've seen our travel cabin, it's a 4x8. That thing is tiny. Out front here, you can see we've got our wood pile. I always like to have this thing stocked in the winter and fall because it's how we heat this place. We've got a wood stove inside, so I always like to have the wood pile stocked. And honestly, it just adds character to this place. It always looks really, really nice. The steps here I actually got for free on Facebook Marketplace. It's amazing when you go on to either Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, you can find so many free things that just will work perfectly for your project. So when I first built the cabin, I wanted the whole thing to be lit with either oil lamps or candles. And so that's why I bought this initially. It was to be able to bring this lantern either inside or outside. And it looks just so cool when you've got this thing lit, especially in the middle of the night when you're either hanging out by the fire or making your way through the woods. You can always see the cabin, and it's really, really great. If you come over to this side, we've got some other little hooks. Some of this stuff is a little janky, you guys. I really make my structures and things for utilitarian use. I'm trying to get better with my craftsmanship, but I just make things to work for me and for Riley. So we've got these hooks, you know, this thing's a shovel. This is an old school kerosene lantern that I need to restore, but it just looks cool down here. Of course, we've got our axe, we've got our hatchet. I also have a line here that comes out of the cabin, and this can screw into a propane tank, and that can actually fuel our single burner propane stove that we have inside. you take a look, we've got our nice rack of deer antlers up here. This is Deerhorn Forest. We've named it Deerhorn Forest, so our cabin in Deerhorn Forest has to have a rack of antlers. As you can see, here's our roofing. It's just your standard metal roofing. And this is where our wood stove pipe comes out from the cabin. And I'm gonna explain to you why I have these pieces of metal up here. So the wood stove that I bought is a really nice camp wood stove. It is made for being used in tents, like bell tents or wall tents, things like that. And with that, the piping has these holes which cool it. And so you need that. That is absolutely imperative. But here's the problem. This is built to go vertically out of either a tent or a structure, usually tents. It's at an angle. So when the rain falls, it goes into the pipe here and it runs into the wood stove. And I've come down and seen like water dribbling out of the wood stove. And so for now, I've resorted to just putting a little, piece of metal up there that keeps it kind of dry. Doesn't look the best, but it works. If you come around to the back, this is kind of where we keep some of our tools and other things. This hutch right here, this is where we put our diesel heater. A diesel heater is essentially a heater that runs off of diesel fuel. You can run the hose into this hole over here. Come here, Rye, we can show them a little closer. And yes, this is a toilet flange. For those of you that know what this is for a toilet, but it works very, very well. Also, I have this port right here. You unscrew this, and this is where the power cord for the diesel heater enters the cabin as well. And so the diesel heater has to have power to run the fans, and so power comes through the cabin that way. Now you may be asking yourself, why, Jack, do you even use a diesel heater if you have a wood stove? Well, here's why. I'm gonna go in, we're gonna show you the wood stove in a second, but it's a camp wood stove. Like I said, it is really built to just blast heat, and that's about it. And so when you use this wood stove in the wintertime, it'll get this place warm, but it blasts heat and then it just like goes out. And so when you're staying overnight in this guy, you have to get up like 4 or 5 times in the middle of the night to keep starting that fire. And so I put the port in for the diesel heater so that in the wintertime we can run the wood stove, but then when we go to bed at night, we can hook up the diesel heater and it'll just keep the cabin warm throughout the night and really just help us get better sleep, because it really kind of sucks waking up like 8 times to stoke the fire. That is that. Let's go inside and check out the interior. Take a look. When I built this, I wanted to be able to not only hang out in here, but I wanted to be able to sleep down here. That was always like a big deal to me, because there's nothing better, honestly, than when you wake up inside a cabin, like the morning with coffee and all that is one of the best times to be at a cabin. And so I wanted to have a bed, and I didn't want to have to like pull it out and put it away. So I was thinking to myself, like, how can I do this? Now, a lot of people with these types of A-frames, they build beds that are also functioning as couches on the sides. So a lot of times you'll see beds and couches on the sides here. But I thought to myself, well, we've got this awesome window here. Why not have a bed that goes sideways like that? And it'll allow you to be able to like sleep and hang out here. But also when you're waking up or going to bed or whatever, you can look out this window and kind of look down into the forest and down the creek a little bit there. And so that worked out perfectly, putting the bed sideways like that. And what it allowed is for us to also have our couch here and have our wood stove here. All right, so let's break down all the individual pieces. Since we've already kind of gone into the bed, we'll start with that. What I did here is I built a platform. I took some of these old, I think they're old like fence posts that my parents had laying around. And so I created these posts here. I built one here, here, and in the back there. I wanted it to be high enough that we could easily get down and utilize storage, as well as have a place for Ellie to be able to sleep. But it works out really well. You know, when you're sitting here and you're able to see underneath and see how neat and clean it is, it just sort of feels a lot better. It feels bigger, and it's just kind of it almost declutters the mind, because you look around and you're like not claustrophobic, and things are in their place and you can see everything well. So I really love having the bed this high. Now, what is Rye doing? Rye's crazy. So this right here is a twin size bed. Again, it would have been nice to have a queen or a full or something like that, but you gotta roll with the space that you have. Obviously, for one person, you sleep just fine in this bad boy. Two people, when you have Riley and me together, it's a little tight, but honestly, what makes it really work is Riley sleeps on the other side over here, and I'm able to sleep on the end, and just being able to like be off the side like this, it gives the impression of more space. So of course with the bed, you know, we've got the window, like I said. I also added in a reading light right here, which is really nice. It's on a switch down here. It's the same reading lights that we have in our travel cabin. I wanted to put in a little bookshelf because reading and being in a cabin, they go hand in hand. This thing is really cool. We love Victrolas. We just love old record players. And this guy is another speaker that mimics a Victrola, except this one is not Bluetooth at all. It's actually just all analog. You put your phone in this slot and it comes out that speaker, and it's really, really great. Of course, up above, we've got some storage. It stores our candles, which again, at night look really, really beautiful. It's also got some water glasses, and some other things. We got some fake plants because these would not survive here in the winter, but they look really, really good. And we've got a massive antler that I found down here in the woods. So again, deer horn forest, you gotta have your deer antler. And so that is the basics of the bedroom area. Directly above it, we have this rechargeable battery operated fan. And this thing is crucial in the summertime. It is so, so nice. You turn that thing on and you get all this fresh air down here. You open up the windows and it's absolutely perfect. Down below the bed, as I said before, we've got Ellie's bed. Ellie loves to sleep down here. Behind her, we've got some good storage for my guitar and my ukulele. Up there is where the heat comes in from the diesel heater. And then over here, we've got our ottoman, which I made out of an old pillow and more of those fence posts. So that thing's great to bring out when you are lounging by the fire. And then over in this side, we've got some more storage just for other random things. We've got our camp Dutch oven down here. We've got some cooking supplies, extra blankets. It's just so nice to have this as a storage area. On this side of the bed, we've got our bellows. That's just up on a simple hook that allows us to stoke the fire. And this over here is where I keep our kindling and firewood. All right, guys, so next, let's talk about the wood stove. First of all, as you can see, when you sit at the couch, you are directly in front of the stove. It's a winter well stove. And I think this is the biggest one you can get. We've got it positioned on this platform, which I made. And the pipe runs up here. And this is where it turns into the triple walled pipe for safety reasons. Now, I know it's a little close to this board right here, but I attached a heat shield here. And, you know, if I did this again, I would have designed this completely different. But it is safe. I've run this for an entire winter season now, and this heat shield holds out. Everything is great. But I do acknowledge that it could be a little better. It's working well, but if I did it again, I would change some things. As you can see above the wood stove, I hung a machete. It's really just for dramatic effect. I have yet to use that machete, but I think it looks kind of cool. The couch is just a simple couch. I actually threw, this is an old comforter, like cover. I threw it over it because this couch is kind of an ugly blue color. It just didn't really seem to fit with the vibe. And so I threw this cover over it. I think it's all right. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it gets the job done. You can either face the wood stove, or what I really like to do is, you know, put the cushion over here. You can look outside. You can look at beautiful rye over there. It works out well. I will show you kind of the electrical system that we've got in place. Over in the corner here, we've got our light switch dimmer. So that controls our cafe lights. And I have batteries, just little USB batteries. I have one that hangs back there that you plug this into, and this will run these lights for a very, very long time. Got the same thing over here with the reading light. As you can see, here's the battery. You just press that, and that shows how much battery life is left. And they pop into there, into the USB, and you can turn them on and off. I did start, like I said earlier, with just candles and lanterns, but I was hanging out down here a lot, and I was cooking food and trying to read and do other things like that, and it just wasn't quite enough light. So I finally was like, all right, I'm gonna put some lights in here, and honestly, it makes it way better. Moving on to the kitchen, we've got kind of a similar setup to the travel cabin. Again, if you've seen that video, we've got a single burner stove here. You just fire on. I've got less cooking tools here because I don't cook here quite as often, but I do sometimes. So I've got just like a little pan, a spatula, got a couple coffee mugs here. I make coffee a lot. That's the main thing I do down here is I'll wake up in the morning and make a cup of coffee, or do it in the afternoon. So we've got our coffee mugs. We've got our coffee stored up on a shelf up here. Below that, I made a little towel rack here for our cabin suite cabin towel, a little hook for our hot pad, and then I made this paper towel holder here as well, which is really nice. Down below we have our propane, but we also have the this thing is the hose that we can connect if we want to use the bigger tank outside. And then during the summertime, I just bring water in these little growlers and a little thing for you to put your boots on. Up above, we've got our food pantry. We've got our kettle here. This is for making coffee. I do pour overs down here. It's really nice and easy. Cooking oil. We've got a nice bottle of whiskey, you know. It also goes hand in hand with the cabin. And then also I've got decaf coffee over here because sometimes in the middle of the day I like to have coffee and skip the caffeine. So I keep some decaf up there. We have a carbon monoxide detector here, and back behind here we have a fire extinguisher because safety is always important. Oh, and I should also note that these walls are insulated. So I did put insulation in here. Again, like I said, this is my first build ever. And so the craftsmanship could be better. You know, honestly, if I get motivated, maybe next summer, I want to come through and tear all of these boards out and redo it and make it look a little bit nicer. But honestly, it's insulated and it gets the job done right now. But someday I do want to redo all of this. All right, now before we wrap up this video, I want to show you a couple of the things out here outside the cabin. We've got the fire pit area. I love this spot because it's just gorgeous. We put together this bench. In fact, this used to be the couch inside the cabin. I had some pads on it and stuff, but we got the new couch in there, and so this became sort of a little lounge bench for the bonfire pit. And then this bench right here, this thing is so cool. The University of Minnesota had an old stadium called Memorial Stadium, and my dad went down there when they were demolishing it, and they gave him some bleachers. So this is a bleacher from the old Minnesota Gophers stadium. So yeah, take a look. I mean, just look how picturesque this is. It's absolutely beautiful. You know, when you have a fire here, you're able to just sit and enjoy. Yeah, we got the wind chimes. We got those ones that I bought, and then I actually built
some creepy ones.
I built some creepy ones. You want to show them the creepy ones? I tried to build my own wind chimes, and that is what it is.
No, it's cool.
It's creepy looking.
It's just creepy.
Yeah.
But we like creepy.
We do. So there's that. And one last thing, Rye, you got to shoot me here so I can demonstrate. I'm a huge fan of swings. I feel like any cabin has to have some sort of a swing. I noticed that there weren't any branches down here that were sticking straight out that we could attach a swing to. So what I did was I took 2 ratchet straps. I think they're like 2,000 pounds limit each. So these are well over a limit that you would need for a swing. But I attached them to the 2 trees, and then I took some rope, connected it, and got a little wood piece of wood and drilled some holes, and boom, we got ourselves a swing. And as you can see, it works. So yeah, we got the swing. All right guys, so that is it. That's our tiny A-frame. I hope you enjoyed this video, this tour. Honestly, these little spaces mean so much to us. They're just such great places to be able to get away and reflect and just kind of like soak in nature in such a chaotic world, you know? We really appreciate them, and it does not take a lot to build these things. And so I encourage you, if you have the space or the ability, give it a shot, because it's so much fun. It really unleashes creativity. It makes you feel proud when you build something. And we've made countless memories in this place and our travel cabin. So yeah, we love it. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace out.